Okay, good morning. This is Miss Triangle. I got several requests to make the videos, so I will be doing that. So the dates will probably be wrong, so cross that out. So this is section 11.1 in Big Ideas, focusing on circumference and arc length. So your essential question, how can you find the length of a circular arc, and how is the formula related to circumference? Our learning target here, 11A, is I can find arc length, excuse me, solve real-world arc length problems, and can convert between degrees and radians. Sometimes my slides get a little cut off. Okay, so what is the formula for circumference? In the box here, you can see there are actually two formulas, so please do write down both. Circumference equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 pi r. So they are the same thing because a diameter is 2 radiuses. So depending on the problem, one might be easier to use than the other. So put down both. Then what is circumference? Let me zoom in here a little bit. Circumference is the distance around a circle. So it's kind of like perimeter, but for a circle and not a polygon, the distance around the circle. All right, then we have pi. So a lot of people know, they've memorized the digits, 3.14, 15, 9, 2, all that. But what actually is pi? If you look at your formula right here, circumference equals pi times diameter. To solve for pi, you would divide by diameter. So pi is circumference divided by diameter. So pi is a ratio, that's circumference divided by diameter, if you can't read it. So pi is a ratio between the circumference and the diameter, and it is always that 3.14, etc. All right, then what do we have next? What is the formula for arc length? And you can use your notes on any quizzes and tests for the rest of this year, so make sure you're writing your formulas down. Your textbook uses some formulas. I prefer some other ones, so I'm going to be putting both. So arc length of AB. So they have the measure of AB divided by 360 times 2 pi r. That certainly will work. Arc length also is the letter S. Not sure why. I usually just put M over 360 instead of the whole measure of the arc. And then, again, you can either do pi times diameter, or you can do 2 pi r because those are equivalent. All right, so make sure you take a second if you need more time to pause the video and to get any formulas down. All right, I'm going to go on to the next slide. Example problems. Okay, part 1, find each indicated measure. The first question is find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 9 centimeters. So I want circumference. I'm going to use pi times diameter. That's just my preference to use that one, but you do you. So make sure if you use that formula, you're putting in diameter. They are giving you radius, which is 9. So if I put that in, I need to use 18. So it's 18 pi. Sometimes we leave our answer in terms of pi, and you can just leave it as 18 pi. Or if I actually multiply that out, I get 56.6 centimeters. All right, for part B, we want to find the radius of a circle with a circumference of 26 meters. And since I want radius, I might, just for fun too, I might use my 2 pi r formula. Now make sure this problem's a little different. 26 is circumference, so you need to put that in for C for circumference, and you are going to solve for radius. So I'm going to divide out a 2. That gives me 13. Then I'm going to divide out my pi. So I have 13 divided by pi, which is about 4.14 meters. I think we're doing meters here, which is my radius. All right, and then I just put this FYI right here. You don't need to copy it, but if you are doing your homework or problems on big ideas, they're going to want you to use the actual pi key on your calculator and round to the hundredths place. Hundredths place would be 2 decimals. That means you're looking at the 3rd decimal place to round the 2nd one. And you can always contact me with any questions on the rounding as well. All right, number 2, find each indicated measure. So number 1, find the arc length of AB. So that's kind of this red arc length of AB. So I'm going to take my arc length formula, S equals M over 360, pi times diameter. That's my preference to use that one. Now M stands for the measure of the central angle. So the M in part A is 60. I'm going to zoom in a little here. So I'm going to say 60 over 360. Where did I get 60 from? That's my central angle. Pi times diameter. Please make sure you use 16, not 8. 8 is the radius. And you can really just plug this whole thing into your calculator at once, and I get 8.38 centimeters. When you type in the fraction, make sure you're using the division key for the fraction. All right, let's move on to part B. For part B, we want the circumference. So remember, circumference is pi times diameter, or the 2 pi r. And it looks like they are giving us this 4.19 is our arc length, is our S. So I will start with my same formula, S equals M over 360, pi times diameter. So I am going to be putting 4.19 in for arc length, in for S. So I'm kind of working backwards. My M, my central angle, I also know is 40. That's a 40. And then pi times diameter, I don't know my diameter, so I'm going to leave that as a D. And also the reason I chose this formula, pi times diameter, is the question asks for circumference, and circumference is pi times diameter. So if I use 2 pi r, I can use 2 pi r as well, yeah. That would also be my circumference, so you could use either one. All right, so let's kind of solve this. So I'm going to divide by 40 over 360. I'm just going to divide by the fraction. So on my calculator, I just wrote a 30, didn't I? Okay, let me fix that. So I'm going to divide 4.19 divided by parentheses, use parentheses around your fraction, 40 divided by 360. So this whole thing can be typed into your calculator. Make sure your fraction is in parentheses. And then I get 37.71 equals pi times diameter. And sometimes people will want to divide out the pi, get the diameter. You don't really need to do all of that because pi times diameter is your circumference. So this is my circumference. That is my answer. All right, now we are on part C. Okay, so part C, we are looking for the measure of RS. So that, by the way, if you're confused, that is asking for the central angle. So the M in our formula, that is what we are trying to find. So I'm going to plug stuff into my formula. The S, the arc length is given to me, is 44. So 44 equals, I don't know my M, so I'm going to leave that as M over 360, pi times diameter. You want to make sure for your diameter that you are using double your radius, so that should be 30.56. All right, and then you can divide out pi and 30.56. So you can, if you want to do it all at once on your calculator, you can divide by pi times 30.56. You can divide and hit equals. It's kind of up to you how you want to do that on your calculator. I would probably, actually, if it was me, I would type 40 divided by 30.56 pi. That's how I would do it. And I believe we are getting 10.46. And that equals M over 360. Then my last step to find m to get rid of my fraction is to multiply by the denominator to multiply each side by 360. So I'm doing 360 times 10.46, and I'm getting 164.99 degrees. That is my central angle, or the measure of RS.